It's Wednesday on YourView. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Mariam Longe, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I haven't been, this is my first day this week,
this
right?
week, yep.
I missed the 2 days Nima was here. I felt so bad. I'm like, why did they not put me on the same day as Nima?
You've not seen
like
that,
everybody's like, welcome
you
back, and I'm not there. But it's been good. I had a good weekend. As you remember, my son turned 12, so we had cake, we had family over. His older ones came and spent the whole day with him, so it was
nice.
It was fun for him and for all of us.
And you rested?
And, sorry?
You rested. You're looking so refreshed.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Thank you. I think I did. And it's not so much that you have nothing to do, is that you have time to do what you're supposed to do well.
Yeah,
so
like
when
exercise,
you sleep, then you wake up, and then you exercise, and so you take your time. You're not jumping from one thing to the next. So so that's what I do.
How are you doing, Toby?
I'm fine.
I noticed no lip gloss on you.
Yeah.
Rushing.
Long story.
Long story.
How are you doing, though? How was your weekend?
I'm very well. I have an event today.
Ah, nice.
So, I was a part of the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs by the U.S. Consulate 2 years ago, and they invited us, some of us, to a barbecue hangout today.
Oh, shit!
We're going to the consulate today to...
Nice.
So like consulate to
Lovely.
I'm really excited about it. I mean, they didn't used to invite me for other hangouts, but this one, when I saw the invite, I'm like, nice.
Congratulations. I'll spoil your barbecue.
Yeah. How are you doing, Ajuri?
I'm all right.
I love your outfit.
Thank you.
This TVC.
Awesome.
BC. Oh, girl, you got some nice styles.
Yeah, we thank the Lord. And we recently launched Body by BC. I'll be giving you people the gist small. Let's not rush it. But just go on my page. Body by BC is there to make you glow and look younger forever.
Nice.
But I'm just getting into... I'm back. I'm getting into the business. I'm trying to sort out my schedule. I have a lot of things lined up, planned. Thank you to all those directors who still remember that I'm an actor. I have a powerful script in front of me. Lead role thing. And I'm like...
Just invite us to the premiere. We must be there. Screaming, go BC!
That's my production, so I don't know.
Yeah, just going to be there.
But please, directors and producers, I am still an actor and I am good. They remember me like this. I love to be on set and I will show you what I have.
Yes. We can vouch for her. Good.
So why don't you have any makeup on today?
We only have one makeup artist. Unfortunately, we had just one makeup artist today.
So that's why
she was really, I came in and she was doing your makeup. And then she had finished and she had to go to you makeup and she couldn't get to me, but hey.
She had done 5 people before I came in. She was tired. She just managed to do my face.
Yeah, it's crazy, but hey, I'm sure they will fix that somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with The Nation. Crisis rocks Ondo, ESCO over Akeredolu and deputies feud. UBA posts 404 billion naira half-year profit. First Lady donates 500 million naira to 500 families in Plateau. Wike moves to sanitize Abuja land administration. Otedola hails Tinubu for resolving the UAE's visa ban and flight suspension. Cargoes for evacuation to decongest Lagos ports. FG targets inflation cuts with 50% fact savings. Flood storm kills over 5,000 in Libya town. Trade between Nigeria and EU grows to 45 billion in euros. Okay, should I start with the major headline?
No, let me start with my story.
Oh, the picture story. Go ahead.
So the First Lady, who is also the national chairman of Renewed Hope Initiative Foundation, has donated 500 million naira to 500 families in Plateau State who have been affected by communal crisis. And she saw the governor and talked about how this amount should be disbursed to the families that have been affected by crisis. It's a relief resettlement package. So for those who have gone through the crisis, so either you're in camps, and then you've lost properties, you've lost your shelter, you've lost livelihood. So this money is supposed to help you sort of regain your life back. But I also like what she said. She says that, see, when these unfortunate crises happen, it's not always the time to come and be expressing just sympathy. That's important. But also to take concrete actions towards alleviating the sufferings of those who have been affected. She says this is just a small way to show her support, like a small support. She's not saying that this amount covers everything, but her way of showing that, we are here with you, we're going through this with you. And she also assures them that the administration of her husband is going to do everything possible to make sure that, it fosters peace, like conversations that will foster peace, not just on the plateau, but all over the country as well. She says news concerning this crisis has reached her and worried her. So I sort of feel heard because, I talk about this all the time. And I love how she's going about it. The governor of Plateau State also says that he's happy that, this is not a woman playing politics with humanity. This is a woman who truly is passionate about alleviating the sufferings of the people.
Absolutely. So, okay, moving on now to the major headline. So the protracted feud between Governor Akeredolu and his deputy governor, Ayedatiwa, took a new turn yesterday because the governor has sacked all the media aides of the deputy governor. According to him, they had published some embarrassing publication that to APC and to the executive as a whole. Also, they said that many of the commissioners and the special advisors are a bit scared because he's going to be resuming work next week, and they're thinking that he might be reshuffling. There might be an imminent reshuffling of the cabinet based on the fact that some of them seem to be working against his interests. They were showing loyalty to the deputy governor in his absence, and many of them actually were doing all sorts of things according to the report that got to him. So they are already preempting a reshuffling that happened next week. He's currently in Ibadan, his house in Ibadan. He hasn't resumed fully to the government office, but he's been working from Ibadan so far. And once that next week, we'll see how that goes for in Akure.
Yeah, so about 5,000 people were feared dead and around 10,000 missing after floods ravaged parts of eastern Libya.
Did you see that video?
It was horrible. Yeah, so they said major parts of the city of Dena, home to approximately 100,000 people, were swept away on Sunday after Storm Daniel, an extremely deadly Mediterranean tropical-like cyclone, collapsed 2 dams. And they said the dams had to submerge many buildings in the area and drown some residents. A seafront bridge was also washed away as tons of water rushed into the sea. So authorities had to label the area a disaster city. Now, yesterday, Taima Ramadan, head of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Society's IFRC delegation in Libya, said the death toll was even likely to increase. So we can confirm from our independent sources of information that the number of missing people is hitting 10,000 so far.
Oh my
and
Lord.
That will likely also increase.
Wow.
So they said they're going to be launching an appeal very soon for emergency funding to support Libya flood victims and listing some of the challenges ranging from between access to basic health facilities for health services, shelter and shelter management, food and non-food items.
We're still dealing with Morocco.
It's
the
just
earthquake in Morocco.
I had to go out to them.
3,000 have died. Now we're talking almost 10,000 in Libya. Really
sad.
Area. Really sad. So, you had a story in Nation?
Yes, about the Apapa decongestion. So the dream of decongesting the Apapa ports came to life yesterday when the Minister of Transportation, Saidu Akali, kicked off cargo movements on the Apapa port standard at the APM terminal in Apapa. And so he said that there would be a movement of cargo from Lagos to Ibadan very soon, and the cargo would do a total of 90 40-foot containers per day. So that means 30 per trip.
Wow.
And he says that this also allows the shippers to return their empty vessels, because by the time they go, they offload, so they're able to bring back empty containers alongside. And he said that currently they have only 1 truck being used. The belief is that there should be 3 trucks to be used, but because there's a building standing on the construction of the railing line. It's called the scanning building, and that is affecting the other 2 rails to be fully completed. But we hope that this happens really soon.
That would really help with the congestion. We'll see how that goes. Moving on quickly now to The Punch. Let's find a story. Labour threatens indefinite strike gives 1-week ultimatum. One dies as truck crashes on Lagos Bridge. Car washer steals customer's vehicle 3 days after employment. Libya flood, Morocco earthquake, death toll hits 6,000. UBA grows half-year gross earnings to 982 billion naira. Tinubu orders probe as 901 die in 61 boat accidents. Nigerians to clear goods from Cotonou port, says customs. Despite serious challenges, Nigerians believe in democracy and oppose authoritarianism. Okay, which story are we starting with?
The major headline? Yes, so we know after the 2-day warning strike, Labour is now warning again, and they are threatening to begin another strike, an indefinite strike this time, if the federal government fails to meet its demands. You know, they had initially given 21-day ultimatum, which will be expiring in a week's time. So they are calling on their members and members of the public to join in the strike. They said this is going to follow the failure of the federal government to provide palliatives to assuage the Nigerian hardships as a result of the fuel subsidy removal. And is going to lead to an indefinite shutdown of commercial and economic activities across the country. So speaking with the Punch on Tuesday, the National Assistant General Secretary of the NLC, Mr. Christopher Onyeka, said it was wrong for the federal government to share a bag of rice to a dozen people while giving 100 million palliative to each member of the National Assembly. And it's not a time where people will just sit back and say this does not concern them, but everybody needs to come out so the government will know how serious it is. And they went ahead to remind how they've been giving ultimatums, and then at the negotiating table, it seems that the federal government is not interested in having these negotiations with them, how they are asking for their wages, their increments, and palliatives to help cushion the effects of the subsidy removal. So I just hope.
Yeah. Let's go on a quick break now. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch story in Punch. Let me take the customs. So the acting controller general of the customs has said, Customs Service, Mr. Adewale Adeni, on Tuesday announced that Nigerian importers will soon be able to clear their goods from Cotonou, that's Republic of Benin. There was a meeting they had with the representatives from the Republic of Benin in the office yesterday. According to him, he said they are building confidence in the system offered by Republic of Benin, and there are importers, and their importers also will be able to import through those borders because they'll be allowed to pay service, every goods and services they're bringing in from those ports, they'll be allowed to pay right there, and hopefully they'll be able to make it easy to pay. And they are building confidence within both countries, and hopefully that with these meetings, very soon importers and exporters will be able to use the borders seamlessly and be able to make payments at the borders too. So, because a lot of importers will be really excited about that, because that place has been congested for so long.
There was a time we were trying to export shea butter, and for shea butter to naturally melt, we spent 3 months at the port in Apapa before we were able to send it to Canada.
Really,
it was a lot. So with this news, I'm really, really encouraged.
So we are hoping indeed that it comes out. All right.
So the president is asking that, or has ordered the probe of. Sorry, just dropped that. Has ordered a probe as 901 die in 61 boat accidents. So they said that at least 901 men, women, and children have died in boat accidents nationwide. The period they're looking at is January 2020 to September 2023, and this report just gives us like a compilation of the different mishaps that have happened over the years, and the number of people that have died. In October 2022, about 85 passengers capsized, 76 drowned, all through the years. And the very latest, which happened September 9th, where this happened in Adamawa, 15 people were confirmed dead. Another died 2 days later. Women and children were confirmed dead. Over 30 people were rescued in a boat accident September 10th in Mokwa local government area of Niger State. So, we constantly read these about this boat accident, and of course, we sympathize with the families.
Right.
But it's good that, you know, we're probing now the reason for these accidents and what needs to be done to make travel by water safer for Nigerians.
Okay, let's just take one story in Vanguard, not taking... abductors of Akwa Ibom NYSC members demand fresh 200 million naira after collecting 30 million naira. Tinubu orders immediate payment of deceased soldiers' life insurance. And gridlock truck drivers ordered to vacate Oshodi Apapa Expressway in 24 hours.
Yes, I took the NYSC.
Yeah.
So these 8 graduates of Akwa Ibom State were on their way to Sokoto when they were kidnapped in Zamfara. And they were going for their NYSC and they were kidnapped. And the kidnappers had demanded 13 million naira, which the families of the victims were able to put together, and they paid. They had given them a particular deadline. They couldn't meet up, but then they extended the deadline. They gave them the 30 million. Now that they've given them the 30 million, kidnappers want 200 million. So they are crying, and they said they haven't even gotten any help from government. They don't know anything about rescuing their children. You know, they said, well, they are just depending on God now. They are fasting and praying. But we have 8 of our graduates who are going for NYSC to do Nigeria's work, and they were kidnapped. And it's been 26 days, if I'm not mistaken, since they've been kidnapped.
Okay, we have to wrap up very soon. Is there a story you want to take?
Yes, I have a story. So President Bola Tinubu has directed the immediate payment of all group life assurance benefits owed families of departed officers and soldiers of the Nigerian army who paid the supreme price in battles to safeguard the country from terrorists. And this was announced by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, disclosed it at the opening ceremony of their event, a third quarter conference that happened in Abuja. And they went ahead to say that they are also going to ensure that they provide befitting living quarters for our personnel, newly introduced affordable home ownership option for soldiers scheme. They are also going to provide quality post-service homes for the soldiers. They will ensure that the injured warriors get the best medical care and continue to support the widows and next of kin of our fallen heroes. You know, went ahead to reel out all the ways that they have helped Nigeria.
Okay, that's all we can take on Front Page Review this morning. When we come back, we bring in our first guest. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So the president just recently arrived from the G20 meeting they had in India, and then also the United Arab Emirates lifted their ban imposed on Nigerians concerning traveling. The decision was reached by the president after President Bola Tinubu met with the UAE president in Abu Dhabi on Monday. We'll have with us right now the spokesperson who is going to be sharing with us exactly the highlights of the G20 Summit and also the meeting they had in Abu Dhabi. Good morning, Ajuri. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Mariah. Good morning, ladies, and of course, viewers.
All right, so welcome back from your trip. Tell us, let's start with the trip to India, the G20 Summit, the fact that you took like 30-something industrialists from Nigeria with you. What exactly was the objective of that event, and what are the major highlights?
Thank you very much. So, you know, the G20 was really a kind of a book with 2 major chapters in it. The first chapter was really focused on, you know, the events leading up to the G20, which were significant for the country. Essentially, His Excellency President Bola Tinubu went out of his way to very aggressively court new foreign direct investments into the country. He was meeting with industrialists, chief executives of multi-billion-dollar companies across multiple sectors, and essentially was not just content with receiving pledges, investment pledges from investors, but sitting down with each of them one-on-one, detailing what the potential encumbrances may be in Nigeria for them. Are there any regulatory concerns that they have? Are there any fiscal concerns they have? Whatever their concerns may have been, they sat down with Mr. President, line by line, went through their concerns, and Mr. President, again, these are not just pledges. These are agreements that are being dealt with on a one-by-one, case-by-case basis to ensure that those investments hit the ground, that those jobs are created for Nigerians, and that local businesses will benefit from the establishment of these large-scale industries and factories across the country, across multiple sectors of the economy. The second leg of the trip, the second element of the trip, or the second chapter of the book, so to speak, in India, was the actual event itself, which was the G20 Summit, in which His Excellency President Bola Tinubu had received a special invitation from the host nation, India, from Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And essentially what that enabled Mr. President to do was to deepen his bilateral engagements with his colleague heads of state, but with a particular focus on his economic development diplomatic initiatives. He was, in every meeting, focused in on ensuring that we are encouraging, our foreign heads of state to rally their business people to come into Nigeria, to put those investments on the ground that will create mutually beneficial win-win partnerships for the Nigerian economy.
Right. Let me get a few more questions in for you. Go ahead.
Yes, so looking at the clips of the meeting, it seems like a very robust meeting, and I'm sure all the intelligent heads would have rubbed minds together, and the fact that the investment is going to be coming into our country is a good one, is a step in the right direction, and I say congratulations. But I would like to know if, this partnership we're getting into, if there are details on how the Nigerian workers, how many of the Nigerian workers will be employed when these companies start working, and how the Nigerian workers will be protected, because some of the companies mentioned already have their businesses here, and we know that sometimes the multinationals who come here to do business do not treat our people well. Did you present our people as part of these negotiations?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So yes, there are a few issues to unpack there. Let's first of all look at the actual investments that were secured in India and why they're relevant. You would recall that we have had in this country a company known as Indorama that deals in petrochemicals, fertilizer production, and the like. It just so happens to be cited in my local government of LMA, local government of River State. Multi-billion-dollar facility, housing thousands of Nigerian workers, employing them, and the like, and obviously paying major taxes, both state and federal. Now, what had happened was, in their unique case, they had had some regulatory issues that needed to be worked out in the amongst the oil and gas regulators. And in effect, it got to a stage where it required presidential intervention. So when it got to Mr. President's table, he called the GCEO of NNPCL, Malamele Kyari, to his office and said, look, this is the encumbrance to a major investment coming into the country and a major expansion of both job creation as well as new tax revenues. I want this dealt with, and I want it dealt with within the next 21 days. That was the timeline that he gave the GCEO of NNPCL. Within 2 weeks, all of the bottlenecks had been removed. As a result of that, the Indorama has now pledged an expansion of nearly $8 billion just because of that single personal presidential intervention of President Bola Tinubu with respect to the Indorama investment. So that's one of the major investments that we secured in India. Secondly, a major steel producer, a multi-billion-dollar steel production conglomerate known as Jindal Steel and Power Company Limited, has pledged $3 billion in phase one. This is something that can scale up. But in phase one, pledging $3 billion to establish a new steel production and iron ore processing factory in Nigeria, right? So obviously you're going to have thousands of jobs now created both directly and indirectly due to the establishment of that facility as well. Yeah. We also have a $1.6 billion investment coming in from a company known as Skipper Seal Power Company Limited, essentially a major multi-billion-dollar power company that deals in electric power generation, but through the provision of solar energy. So what they do is they provide, I said electric, I meant solar power. What they do is they're providing 20 new 100 megawatt solar-powered power generation stations across the states of northern Nigeria that will come to about 2,000 megawatts in total. That has obviously major multiplying impact on the Nigerian economy through not just the provision of direct jobs, but obviously through the provision of new energy that will energize the economy of not just the north, but of the entire federation. So you have several investments like that will have the direct effect of the direct jobs created in those facilities, as well as the indirect jobs created by the facilitation and patronage of MSMEs and local vendors in these communities across the country.
Ajuri, you've used two words interchangeably, secured and pledge. Which is it? Because Nigerians are confused. Are these deals being secured, or they are just mere pledges for now?
Yes. So now, where we are now in the process is that the president has secured the top-level pledges from the chief executive officers of these companies. The next step now is for them to come into the country and now put all the finer details on paper and to sign and execute. Okay. But what the president told them is that when as we've now resolved the issues, you've told me your issues, I have resolved them, I have linked you with Minister of Trade, I have linked you with Minister of Defense, I have linked you with the relevant officials. What is now going to happen is we're going to meet again in Nigeria, we get the finer details on paper, and we're going to have immediate execution. So we're looking at a takeoff of these various projects of within the next 30 to 45 days. That was the agreement struck by Mr. President with these investors.
Okay. So, you know, a lot of the investments that you talked about caught my attention. You already mentioned one, the power generation plants across northern, some states in northern Nigeria. But the second one that is so important to me is the $1 billion $1 billion agreement to bring the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, to about 40% self-sufficiency in local manufacturing and production by 2027. Of course, as we know, security is a major topic in Nigeria. And I'm wondering, during this conversation, could you just tell Nigerians, like, what sort of conversations did we have with the Minister of Defense and this company? And what should Nigerians see going forward because of this investment in our security?
A fantastic question. So yes, there was a major defense component to the agreement struck. That was further followed up, I need to mention this, by when His Excellency Mr. President interfaced with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the G20. It was also raised, this issue of enhanced defense partnership between the two countries. What they've been able to successfully achieve in India is a major transition from the system we've been running in Nigeria, which is largely import dependent, largely import based, where you're paying, billions of dollars to the US, to Israel, to Russia, to other European countries, China and the like, to really have them, bring in their locally produced locally manufactured weapon systems into Nigeria, but they're producing in their countries. The jobs are being sustained and created in their countries. Taxes are being paid in their countries and all of that. They just take our capital and go. What India had done is over the last 10 years, they have transitioned from that same kind of a system to one that is totally self-reliant on the basis of, local research and development and local innovation. They're now being able to manufacture their own arms, both at a small scale with light weapons and at the advanced scale of fighter jets, aircrafts, ship landing tanks, I mean, you name it. So what we've said is that, look, there are lessons that we can learn from India. And Mr. President communicated that very clearly to the Indian Prime Minister. And they were able to strike quite a favorable, kind of collegial relationship in which the Indian Prime Minister said, look, we are going to work with you. We see the reforms that you have put in place very quickly in Nigeria, Mr. President, and we see you're serious and we're going to work with you. Okay. So as part of all of that, the defense agreement we have is essentially that it's no longer going to be enough for us to take technology off of the hands of these other countries. We want the technology to be locally manufactured, locally produced. We want to, localize our research and development to such an extent that we will have the start to finish production and processing of all of the various requirements of our armed forces in country. Right. So in this agreement, as you rightly mentioned, the president is focused in on two major institutions. One is NASENI, the National Agency for Space and Engineering Infrastructure. The other one is the DICON, that is the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria. In the 1970s, we were producing a lot of our requirements. It's just that from the 1980s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, we had become very lazy in our approach, and then we resorted to mass import. So the focus now is the president is insisting on creating a local ecosystem in which we are producing our own fighter jets over a period of time. We're already producing our own armored personnel carriers and other things. But what we are saying is that with India, they must localize all of the various stages of production in Nigeria for the benefit of creating Nigerian jobs, paying taxes to Nigerian authorities, subnational and national, and making sure that we get all of that value in country. And then again, there's also a national security component. When you are able to locally innovate, it's more difficult for other countries to know what your capacity is and what your capacity is not with respect to your capabilities on the battlefield. This is where we want Nigeria to be within the next 10 years or so.
All right. Go ahead, Toby.
Okay, so in November of 2022, we found out that Emirates and Etihad Airlines suspended their operations in Nigeria over the inability to repatriate its $85 million revenue trapped in the country. And we see that one of the gains of the president's trip to the United Arab Emirates is that these airlines would resume operations immediately. And the statement went on to say that Nigeria wasn't going to be involved in any immediate payments to these airlines. Now, how was that possible? Knowing fully well that, yes, we agree that the president is a master negotiator, but we would like to know the processes involved, because one would naturally think that pay the debt first or pay the revenue first before operations can go on seamlessly.
Yes, thank you very much. So, of course, His Excellency, Mr. President, is a man who values his time appropriately. He's very efficient with the management of his time. He knew that he had an opportunity of a technical stopover. Why not take maximum advantage of that and get some official business done on behalf of the Nigerian people? And that's what we saw in the United Arab Emirates. A standoff that has lasted several months in just 24 hours of His Excellency Mr. President's presence. But we also don't want to preempt a process that is currently playing out. You currently have cabinet officials on both the sides representing both countries, working out the finer details, putting pens to paper, and we don't want to get too far ahead of that. So we'll allow that process to finish before we get very, very specific with respect to the details of what those interventions and investments will be from the UAE into the Nigerian economy across sectors. But we can say that the visa ban has been dealt with. Nigerians can look forward to business ties being restored across the two countries. And of course, this is going to have a major impact on Nigerian economic actors, both from small-scale business to medium-scale and large-scale industry. But what we've said is that these things are give and take, right? You don't just go and collect favors. You also have to give an assurance that our visa processing system must be modified in such a way that we have better diligence done on applicants who are seeking to go to the UAE. We want the best of our citizens traveling abroad, people who will represent us well, going to study, going to do business, going to be proper brand ambassadors for Nigeria and other countries. Right. So we've assured the UAE that we are going to ensure that the worst elements, the few bad eggs that spoil all of our collective name, that we do a better job of filtering them out before they have a chance to enter into some of these other countries.
Right. Okay, so I feel like my first question was not answered, but I want to believe, because what I wanted to hear was how the Nigerian worker will be protected in signing of this, documents for these companies to come and work here. I didn't get that clarification. However, I just want to believe that when you people are fine-tuning the partnerships, you would decide what the Nigerian worker will be paid, the benefits they're supposed to have in line with what the international workers will be paid as well. Just, make it seem, make it robust for the Nigerian worker, not to be exploited. But I also wanted to ask, I know that we like foreign direct investments. We're looking for USD, Forex up and down, and, this is good. But where does this place the local manufacturers, especially in line with these businesses that we have? What sort of support will they have? Do you think they can compete favorably with these big international companies coming in?
So this is really the beauty of Mr. President's design, is that he has ensured that these investments are complementary to the Nigerian worker, to the process of localization in terms of local content, and to the process of supporting Nigerian MSMEs, medium-scale industry, and large-scale industry. You would recall that His Excellency Mr. President at the CEO roundtable in New Delhi, who did he bring to the table? The president of the Nigerian Chamber of Commerce, the president of NASIMA. He ensured that we had about 20 captains of industry, including titans like Sir Tony Elumelu and many, many others at the table, to ensure that our companies are represented in any kind of process of negotiation or of courting of foreign direct investment, to ensure complementarity, to ensure that there's a handshake. We are not into the days of the days of parasitic economic relationships are over. What we are focused on is ensuring that our new investors coming in are coming in to support the Nigerian, ecosystem of MSMEs and large-scale industries, not to harm them, not to take away from them. So let me give you a practical example. When Jindal Steel comes into the country now to establish a $3 billion steel processing and production factory in the country, what that is going to mean for the MSME that is into construction, or the medium-scale enterprise that is into various industrial use cases that require steel as a key input, you're now going to have locally produced, locally processed steel products, instead of having to pay those massive surcharges that you will have to pay due to the importation, the use of foreign exchange to import into the country. You're now going to have that savings of having a locally refined and processed and produced steel. That is a base of industrialization on which Nigerian MSMEs and Nigerian medium and large-scale industries can now build their businesses at a much cheaper rate because it's locally produced. So that's just one example out of many as to how those investments will assist Nigerian businesses.
We have to let you go now, Ajuri. But I can't let you go without asking how our refinery is going. I thought by end of August, Dangote would have started, based on what you told us.
No, yes. So the Dangote refinery announcement of, I believe it was May when they launched, they said products would begin coming out by September. Now, there are multiple products that come out of the Dangote refinery. You have aviation fuel, you have PMS, and you have diesel, and you have many other products that are coming out. So I believe the best way to get a concrete timeline on PMS as a product, instead of some of these other products that I believe have already started coming out, is to actually find out directly from the Dangote refinery. But what I can speak to is the government refinery under NNPCL, which is launching in December of this year. That's phase 1, and that's PMS.
All right, Ajuri. Thank you very much. We are watching you based on your promise. But thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
All right, let's go on a break. When we come back, move on to other segments. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So as we move to the next segment, joining us on the show now is the founder of Nord Automobile Limited, one of the first Nigerian automobile brands and Africa's premier automobile corporation. He started his career at Mercedes-Benz Nigeria, growing very fast to become the head of division of vans, and later co-founded Jet Van, an authorized dealer of Mercedes. Welcome with us, Mr. Ajayi Joshua Oluwatobi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
What got you so connected to the automobile industry?
Okay, so I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to create value. I wanted to add value. So, and I initially wanted to be a farmer because, yeah, I saw a lot of my uncles growing up, you know, struggling to get a job, spending 3 years, 4 years after university, after NYS, and I said, you know, this won't be my portion. I was going to do something that will create jobs and also not put me in the labor market for too long. So I felt that, so I looked at one problem Nigeria had at that time, which we still have till today, which is food production. I've always known that our inflation, one way or the other, was tied to the inability of food in the market, you know. So I said, okay, I was going to go to farming. We have farm in Abeokuta, so easy barrier of entry. But NYSA happened, and I served at Mercedes-Benz Nigeria in Lagos. Wow. And I liked the culture. It was really good. You know, it was just very different from the kind of experience that I had schooling in Nigeria, in Nigerian University. You know, so I said, no, I like how I'm being treated here, and that's how I left the farming. So Mercedes-Benz was good. I was retained immediately.
Oh, wow. And
within a couple of months, I was promoted to become the head of the division, the van division, which is something you should have spent a couple of years, you know, in the company before doing that. So my career was very, very fast. And from being the head of division, I was 24 at that time. Wow. I was the youngest in Africa and Middle East at that time.
Oh, wow.
And so after that, I started Jet Van, like you mentioned. From Jet Van, I saw the need to start our own vehicles. I just felt that why are we always buying foreign-made vehicles? Why are we always buying vehicles from Japan, from Germany? I've been to most of the factories of Mercedes-Benz in Germany, and I felt that it was possible for us to actually make our own things, and that was one of the reasons. I have a couple of reasons why I started Nord. One of the reasons is to show the world Africans can make our own things, our own machines, our own cars.
I love Nigerians.
Yeah, Africans can make our own things.
I'm listening to you. I would like to go into, you know, what exactly that you do. But before then, there was something you said which I thought is important with highlight. You talked about how it was quite fast for you to move on, you know, move up the ladder. Yeah. And what would you say were the qualities or characteristics that you have that played a part in you being recognized that way?
Okay, first of all, I wanted to be very successful. I wanted to be successful. And I knew that I had to repeat the fate people had in me because I was given responsibility at a very young age. So I felt that I had to show these people, the management of Mercedes-Benz Nigeria at that time, that you have given this young guy this responsibility and I will not fail you. So I was working long hours. My nickname then, you can still go there, was Onishe. Like, I was always working even when you asked me not to work. Okay. And at that time, like I said, I just enjoyed it. But what happened was that, I'm knowing that now, but then I was just working. What happened, I was training myself into a machine. I was becoming really good at every aspect of the business. Okay. From the finance, to the operations, to the sales. I was just getting good in everything. So
you made yourself indispensable.
Yes, exactly. So, and that was why I was promoted quickly, and that was why I grew very fast.
Yeah, I also heard that, you know, from what you said earlier, that you found a problem. You noticed or recognized, identified a problem, and you decided to get a solution for it. Yeah. There are a lot of people who, you know, work in places where they know there's a problem, but it's none of our business. I'm not the first person. I'm not the one who's going to do this. Now, for people who are looking around them and they want to do more, but it seems like where they are working, there's no opportunity for that. What advice would you give to such people?
So I think that one of the advice I will give people, young, because I'm still young, I'm just 35, is when you are given a role, when you're given something to do, even if it's not the most impressive role, even if it's not, some people like the shiny roles. They want the role on the front of the camera, they want the role. Just do your job. Continue to create solutions. Continue to find answers to the problems around you. You know, and people will notice. It might take time, but people, those who are running the organization, those who run that entity, are going to notice one way or the other that whenever I give this guy a job, he does it.
Does extra.
Regardless of how simple or how difficult it is, he does it. And soon, that role that you want, that position that you want will come to you. So I think, maybe because I'm the firstborn, I don't know, I've always been, because, you know, Nigeria, I grew up in Nigeria, there's always one problem or the other, here or there. So I had to grow up solving problems. So I think before I was even out of my teenage age, I was already used to solving problems. If you come to me today and say, there is this problem, I realize the problem, but I already move on to solution.
What's the next thing?
What's the next thing? What can we do? Then we can analyze the problems later so it doesn't happen again. But immediately, I move on to the solution.
Yeah. Go ahead, Toby.
Toby.
Yeah.
My name is Toby.
Ah, namesake.
And I feel like Toby's have won. When God was creating us, he just said, you be excellent.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Yes, you mentioned exposure, right? So in your story, you said you wanted to become a farmer, but where you were posted in NYSC changed the game for you. Yeah. A lot of youth will probably think that exposure doesn't really matter, because if you weren't posted there, you would have still been a farmer. You may have been, in fact, you would have been successful.
I think I would have been successful.
Right? Yeah. But it changed your mindset. It changed a lot of things about how you even viewed life. Yeah. Right? So can you speak to the youths who think that it's okay to just remain at that space where you are without being optimistic about life? Because at the end of the day, it is what you see that you would get out of life, or what you really want that you get out of life.
Okay. I don't like to, you know, because life can be complicated, can be complex, can be tough. So, and when you're trying to give advice, sometimes there are different scenarios. Everybody's going through different phases. So sometimes your advice may not directly apply. But I think there are some basic rules, you know. So one of it is this. Time waits for nobody. So I always say something in Pidgin, do it when your mates are doing it, like when your mates are doing it, when your mates are getting serious, when your mates are digging deep, do it.
Yeah.
You know, after NYSC, when everybody is trying to get their job, when everybody is trying to build something out of themselves, don't spend your time gallivanting around the world. You know, build, because you're going to come back when you're 28, 29, and exactly, and you won't be able to do the things, the nonsense, quote unquote, that they took when they were 22 and it was normal. that's life. You still have to pass through that phase, and you start to feel, oh, I cannot do this, I cannot do that.
Let's talk about how you started your business, because the truth is that you're 35 years old.
Yeah.
You're running an automobile company.
Yeah.
Is it like your father gave you the money? Did you go to the bank? How did you just go somewhere? They just dash you cards, say go and sell for? What exactly, how do you start an automobile as a Nigerian 35-year-old?
Okay, so, you know, like we all know, life is like in stages and it's compounding. So 1 year you do this, the next year you build on it, and that's it. So I'll give you, because of time, I'm very, very brief. So I schooled all my life in Nigeria. I've always wanted to be successful. I've always wanted to add value. So I said, even when I was going to be a farmer, I always told people, even my girlfriend, I was like, you know what? I'm going to feed 1 million people. I'm going to make sure I will be so big, I will fight inflation. You know, I always had those big dreams, even when I was a teenager. So when I got to Mercedes-Benz, I served there, I was retained. I became the head of the van division when I was 24. Yeah. I was very young. The van division wasn't really strong. But when I was there, we moved the market share from less than 1% to 7%. Wow. We sold 10 times more vehicles than we've been selling before when I was the head of division. So that brought a bit of success. Nigeria won the best sales or best country when I was head of that division. You see, so after that, exactly, then I saw the opportunity to co-found a dealership of Mercedes-Benz with some people. Okay. Those people wouldn't have invested, or the opportunity that exactly. Yeah. There are a lot of stories, but I'm trying to summarize it for you.
So you're diligent to your work.
Exactly.
They saw that and then
I was 26 when somebody gave us. The person invested 1 billion naira in 2015. Wow. This was when dollar was maybe 160 or so. That's about $5 million US. Wow. So this young guy was 26 years old because they've seen something.
I just stand like this. If you don't hold $5 million, I just stand like this. $5 million.
That was a long time ago, even, you know. So
you can imagine how much is touching
your heart right now.
So somebody is asking if you are married, though.
I'm married. I actually forgot my ring at home.
Oh,
I'm married.
So he's married.
Hey,
I'm married.
Of all the conversation here, the marriage matter.
Yeah. I was.
Like you need to wear.
You need to wear the ring. Wear double.
All right.
You know,
it's good.
So after that, at 26 years old, I started Jetvan with some amazing investors, and we were doing very well. We were, selling our vehicles. We had the exclusive rights for Mercedes-Benz Sprinters in Nigeria. I'm responsible, without sound humble.
Modest, yes.
Yeah, with some modesty. I'm responsible for the popularity of the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter in this market, in the Nigerian market. Yeah. Nice. So after that, we were doing very well. Everything was going well until the naira lost some value. People couldn't buy the Mercedes-Benz as much as they could anymore. So that was one of the reasons I said, you know what? Why are we always trying to buy Oyibo things? Why can't we control our own factors of production? Why don't, we already have some advantage, which we don't even realize. Land is relatively cheap in Nigeria. Labor is relatively cheap. We also have very smart people, So we can, these are two major factors of production, so you can bring that in and have a competitive advantage. Bring it in and your price is good. And that's one of the things that I thought about. And it was tough, story for another day. Then I started a nod. So to ask your question, how did I get the money? So being head of the van division, then I got investors for Jetvan, made some money there, then I left. Because at that time, the investors didn't want to come with me. They were wondering, okay, can we do this? Can we not do this? So I left. I had 100% of the company. I had some money. I started with that money. Then, of course, the money dried up.
Your personal funds.
My personal funds.
Bam. I like that.
So the money dried up within a couple of months, Then I went to a bank. But let me mention, I went to Sterling Bank. Sterling Bank decided to, okay, we like this guy. I was in Lagos. So everything has to, it's not just...
You're not supposed to mention, bro, because they didn't pay us.
Oh, I'm sorry. But I just wanted people to understand
the process.
How the process... I was in Lagos Business School then, So people saw my dream. Like I said, people knew that this guy was hardworking in the rest.
Let me ask something. So I see people who come and they say they want to start a business.
Yeah.
And I ask, okay, what do you have in your hands? And they say nothing. And I'm wondering, so if you cannot bring out what you have. You cannot invest in your own self. How do you expect me to invest in you? And I hear now that's why I highlighted the personal funds that you invested, because you believed in yourself and you were able to put everything you have. When you present your case to somebody, they will say, okay, for this person to put what they have, that means they believe in themselves and it's easy for them to support you. So, you know, I know you don't like giving advices, but anybody can pick on it and work with it. What do you tell people who are really interested in doing something and yet they don't trust themselves enough to put what they have?
Unfortunately, I have to go on a break.
Oh.
When we come back, we answer that question and then take a few more questions. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So before the break, BC had asked an important question about how to bring in your own investment into a business.
So it's very important for people to know that investors, creditors, people who want to partner with you, want to see that you have a skin in the game. Nobody, or people will be very skeptical to invest in you if they feel that you are not as committed. Because why would people invest their scarce resources, money, time into you, sometimes reputation, if you are already thinking this business might not work? You know, the money I used to studying Nord, I remember a couple of my friends then telling me I could have used it to buy property or this or that.
Wow.
You know, and they were even calling me a fool at that time. Now, of course, they think they are still friends, we're still best friends. But at that time, they felt that I was being, you know, unnecessarily ambitious. You know, so you need to put your skin in the game. You need to be sure. I've heard of entrepreneurs who want to start a company but are still working somewhere and you're trying to raise money. And people are wondering, you're trying to raise money, but you're still an employee of this other company. So it doesn't inspire confidence to invest, So you need to put a skin in the game.
All right, go ahead, Toby.
Toby, I hail you specially.
You know, I'm telling you.
You know, entrepreneurship can be a tasking walk in the park, right? And you may feel like, do I really have what it takes? But we see that the government will say, people will say create an enabling environment. They want the government to create an enabling environment. So what are the challenges that you faced as an entrepreneur in Nigeria? And how can the government help such situations, especially for other entrepreneurs that watch this interview today and are saying that we want to do this, but a lot of things are limiting us?
There are a lot of challenges in Nigeria, a lot. So I'm just going to pick one or two because of time. There are a lot of challenges doing business in Nigeria, and some of them are very unnecessary. They shouldn't be there in the first place. And we talk about trying to create jobs, but a lot of these challenges actually take out jobs, you know. So one of them is, I'll mention maybe like two or three. One of them is, in my industry, for my sector, is inconsistent government policy.
Right.
I think that's number one for us. Inconsistent, like, it's not about the policy here. It's how inconsistent it is. Today you are saying this, next year you are saying this. So it demotivates investment. People, when you, especially my sector, is very, very capital intensive. People have their break even in 10, 15 years. You know, break even, not, you know. So when you want to invest, you want to be sure that we will be able to do this thing. Because Nigeria is a big market. Nigeria is a very big market, you know.
Absolutely.
We'll be able to come here, do this, grow the economy of this country, help the people, create jobs, and over a period of time, be able to, you know, break even, then start making your money. But imagine after 4 years, 3 years, there's a policy change, you know. So, because right now, let me give you a good example. Right now, before some years ago, there was a policy that encouraged local assembly. So people think, yeah, why should people? So if you bring in vehicles, complete knockdown, you don't pay any duty. Then semi-knockdown, you pay 10%. Then for those who bring in fully built vehicles, you pay 35% for commercial vehicles and 70% for fully built passenger cars. But in 2020, for reasons I do not understand, for reasons that cannot be justified, it was slashed without consulting us, the stakeholders, you know. That's one of the problems of Nigeria I will mention. They claim the consultants of the stakeholders who were not the stakeholders, who just, you know, because they have other interests, they wanted to bring in Tokumbo vehicles. They said they were the stakeholders, and they went to government and they changed this policy. So right now, if you bring in fully built commercial vehicles, you pay only 10%. And if you bring in semi-knockdown, you pay 10%. So right now, you actually lose money assembling vehicles in Nigeria. So
it made it cheaper to bring.
Yeah, so it's cheaper right now to bring in a fully assembled vehicle than to
bring in the parts.
Bring in the parts and assemble. So right now, for every vehicle that I assemble, I lose about 500,000 naira per vehicle, 600,000 naira per vehicle.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so imagine when we do volume like 100, 200, so you can do the calculation. So you can ask why. The reason is we've trained our staff. If I have to stop the assembly, then I have to, all the investment we've made
will be lost.
Will be lost.
Training.
Be a waste. The trainings, the people we've employed will have to lose their job, you know, but also me, I lose the training. You know, so we're just hoping that the government at a point
will look into it.
Will look into and realize that the auto industry is a big market. In Germany, for example, they call it the mother of industries. Like, because a lot of other industries will thrive if you have a thriving automotive manufacturing industry.
Time. Let me
Yeah, so I just really wanted to know like more about this. You know, let's talk to government now. Yeah. Let's talk about practically how this will affect us. You know, you started it already. Practically how this investing in your industry, how it will help us. We are constantly talking about, you know, importing, especially when we have like new politicians coming into power. We're talking about what we're importing new cars, when we can be building. What are the things that you would like to see government do? One, policy. We need one policy that, you know, that is long-term. Yeah. Secondly, what would you like to see, especially when it comes to education in schools? What would you like to see Nigerian students study, you know, and...
Okay, so I'll start from education. Very important. But, you know, like I said, in solving problems, you know, you cannot just say, okay, one thing. It's a combination of different factors over a period of time. There's no magic switch, boom, you know. So now, at the moment, we need to first of all, create a manufacturing sector that is thriving, that is paying well. So when that happens, then you can have the incentive to get people to go to technical schools, to get trained. Because right now, most of the technicians in the factories are not like the graduates of engineering of our universities. They are usually the guys the apprentice. They're usually the very skilled ones. So, but they don't have so you have a problem where you have the apprentice that's very technically skilled. Then you have the university engineering graduate who has to be supervisor, not very technically skilled. So there is no middle ground. And that's because the technical schools are not as efficient at the moment. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. There are one or two you see that are technically gifted, they're also well-educated, you know, but in the market. So we need to focus on that, educate people more. But before you can get people more, you need to actually make your manufacturing sector very, very attractive, like the way the oil and gas is, for example. You need people engineers should know that I can be a mechanical engineer in Nigeria, and I'll be very successful.
Yes.
So that's one of the things.
One of the things I want to use to touch on before you, because we have to wrap up very soon. At the various somebody's listening to you right now, and they're thinking, automobile, Nigeria, it never really occurred to me. We only hear of Innocent. I mean, that's the only one we've heard about. But now we've seen your automobile. How can they get involved? What are the various levels of value chain? The design of what makes a Nigerian car a Nigerian car? Is it you designing it, or you're still importing the design from abroad? What makes it uniquely Nigerian? What's that thing that makes a car Nigerian automobile? Okay, so this question is very similar to what people ask. Okay, is it assembled in Nigeria or is it made in Nigeria? So now, I've always said this to people close to me. The only way you can make a car is to assemble it. Just the same way the only way you can make a cake is to bake it.
where you can cook, make your jollof rice is to cook it. So the only way you can make a car is to assemble it. Now, when you say manufacturing, you can manufacture different components of the car. Then it goes to the assembly line and is assembled. So for us now, we make about 30% of our components. We make our grills ourselves, which you see. We make some of our door handles ourselves. We make some of our dashboard. Most of the plastic parts we make ourselves. But the metal parts, we cannot make ourselves because we do not have a steel manufacturing sector in Nigeria. So we have to bring in this steel. Once the steel sector is done, and trust me, if we do this steel, I estimate that we will drop the price of vehicles in Nigeria by as much as 30%. Wow. If we start making our own steel ourselves. Right now, we're already about 50% the price, like Nord, for example. Our price is about 50% or 60% the price of the competitor from across the world. The same quality, just a different country of manufacture and a different brand. So now, so they're already about 60% the price. So if you now start to make steel in Nigeria, we will drop even by 30%, and people will have a lot of jobs. Like the Nigerian auto industry is big. The only problem is that 97% of our market is Tokumbo. It's used vehicles from outside Nigeria. Yeah. We bring in over ₦1 trillion of cars every year, between 1 trillion to 1.8, depending on the year. Monies that we can use. So imagine, and all this money is always changed into USD or into dollars. So imagine half of that remains in this country. Imagine the amount of, just imagine the amount of jobs, the wealth. Already
imagining it. Yes, imagine us exporting our cars.
Our cars. And we can actually do it. We can actually do it because, okay, we can actually, because a lot of the big companies we see today is because, like I said, you can start from the low-hanging for the government. There's actually an executive order 5 that says that you have to buy made in Nigeria things.
Do they follow it?
The problem is that I'm very active on Twitter. I said it on Twitter a lot of times. That one of Nigeria's biggest problems, even bigger than policy, is impunity. We just don't like to obey laws. And there are almost no consequences for not obeying rules.
Laws are not sweet.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
You have a lot to say, I can tell.
So much. I mean, it's good. It's exciting to see you. And I always say proudly that TVC is one of the only stations in this, or company in this country that actually bought innocent vehicles, because we wanted to be proudly Nigerian. All the official cars were turned to many years ago, and was something that was a proud moment to know, listen, we're using Nigerian products. And I'm happy that you're also in the industry. Well done, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Maybe my own company too, we buy your own.
Yes.
Okay, let's go on a break now. When we come back, move on to the final segment. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So one would have observed that the last couple of days, it appears there have been some scarcity of PMS. Many filling stations are not dispensing fuel, while many are not running optimally. Queues are being observed in most parts of the city. We have with us Yusuf Lawa Uthman. He's the National President, Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners, NARTO. He's speaking to us from our Abuja studio on the reasons why some of these anomalies still persist despite full deregulation of the downstream sector. Welcome to the show, sir. Good to have you, Mr. Uthman.
Thank you. Good morning.
So we've observed in the last few days, there's been some kind of queues in the filling stations. Could you give us an idea why this has happened?
Well, I want to believe that it's not unconnected with the high cost of diesel in the country. Although I'm not competent to speak about fuel scarcity as far as Nigeria is concerned, but I can speak about the distribution which our members do for the country. In the last few weeks, there has been a scarcity of diesel, and by that scarcity, the high cost. Today, diesel is about 950 at stations around Lagos, and probably 960, 70 around Maiduguri, you'll have about 1,000 litre. So the transporters that distribute this petroleum product across the country are, having a hard time because of the operational cost. And to cap it all, the government just recently introduced 7.5% VAT on diesel. So this is one of the reasons why diesel has gone up. And of course, we are transporters and we are business people. And this business is done with a view to make profit. So if you deploy a truck to do the runs that you normally do as it is today, you will not be able to make anything. So you don't have any option than to take a position and wait. So probably this is the reason why you don't have adequate number of trucks to distribute the petroleum product across the country.
So last week I stumbled on a Guardian analysis, and they said that about 318 billion losses are made monthly from this petrol, this PMS, and that because of the rising cost of the dollar, which is about 9.20 right now, the landing cost of the PMS has actually gone up to 728 per liter, but we're still buying at 500 and something. Could you confirm to me exactly the landing cost right now? And is there a form of subsidy still going on somehow? Can that be confirmed?
Well, again, I'm not competent to talk about landing cost because it's the purview of the government officials. But I can confirm to you, yes, due to the high cost and scarcity of dollar, the pump price should have gone up, but because government has a reason for doing what it's doing, the pump price remains the way it is. If you look at other parameters, you will of course believe that the pump price, the way it is not reflective of the parameters that normally jack it up.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Uthman, had a question?
Yes.
Toby?
Yes. How are road transport owners faring now, especially now that we know that there's an increase in the cost of PMS? And how have you been able to fairly price the cost of transportation? Because this affects the everyday Nigerian, and we see that a lot of people are complaining. So how have you been able to fairly price that with regards to the people and considering the current realities that Nigerians are going through now?
Well, thank you so much. I must confess to you, we are facing very hard time now. Prior to the full deregulation, we were optimizing our trucks, and average truck turnaround, bridging that is from Lagos to Abuja, Port Harcourt, Owari, or Calabar to Abuja, is a truck usually does about 2-3 trips in a month because the demand is high. We're talking that time about 100 million per day. Today, we are talking about 35 to 40 million. So a truck hardly does a trip per month. Wow. And we have so many trucks. So many of our members purchase trucks, so we have so many trucks. So as we speak now, we are operating about 30% of our usual operation. So that has really affected us. But sincerely speaking, we know that reality is gradually sinking in, setting in. And of course, the previous consumption was not reflective of the demand nationally. And even if it is, so many people that hitherto, have so many vehicles across the country, maybe in their household, probably will have to maybe fuel 1 or 2 vehicles because reality has set in. And so many people that ordinarily will go and fill up their tank, maybe 15,000, now will have to probably fill up at maybe 30 or 40,000. So it means that they will have to be disciplined in the usage of petroleum products. Oh, wow. So demand has reduced because the reality has set in. That is on that aspect. Similarly, on the respect of us, the transporters, we are not finding it very easy. As we speak today, the operational components of our activity, diesel, like I said earlier on, is about 950 naira per liter. So if you consume 1,000 liter for bridging, you are going to pay about 950,000 naira. When you add other operational costs, it will cost you about 1 million naira to operate a single truck to do bridging. And when you come, you are expected to recoup what you have already invested in terms of fueling and other operational costs from the payment that you will get. But that is now not possible because the pump price that you would have expected to take care of your increased operational cost is pegged. The government, for whatever reason, which is within the purview, of course, keeps the pump PMS price the way it is. So what we expected is just like in full regulation, in AGO, in DPK, if there is additional cost in terms of purchase cost, it is expected that that cost should be pushed to the consumer. But as we speak, that cost now cannot be pushed to the consumer because there is a ceiling in terms of the PMS pump price. Of course, in other products, diesel, ATK, and DPK, such can be, added up. But sincerely speaking, the major component that we transport and we consume is PMS. So if such is pegged, as we speak, we are more or less operating at a loss because the marketers cannot afford to pay any additional transport fare from nowhere. Yes. So these are some of the problems we have. In addition, we pay 5% withholding tax on everything that we are paid. And not taking into cognizance that even if, for example, Lagos to Abuja, you pay 1.4 million for a transporter, and such a transporter probably expends 1.2 million, he has a net of 200,000. But the tax will be on the total gross, which is 1.4 million. So these are some of the problems we face, and we have spoken to the authorities concerned to look at it. And this is some of the reasons why you see so many people are not even willing to go and put their trucks on the tank farm to move around. Yes, because they don't really have any gain. And also what is not helping us, there are so many marketers and transporters who hitherto have outstanding payments with Nigerian midstream, downstream petroleum regulatory agency, still with them. Now, more than 100 days after the regulation, they've not been paid and no plan on ground to pay all those debts. So many of these issues are now culminating to where we are today. And the fact of the matter is that this fuel is distributed in Nigeria 100% by trucks. And these truck owners are sick by virtue of what they experience. So if we have called now the attention of the authorities, and we expect that because the government is a listening government, they will address these issues and avoid any unforeseen circumstance.
Thank you for, just clarifying it. You know, we see, you know, a lot of us, when these policies happen, it's usually the consumers, we scream and cry. We also forget that on your own side too, you know, these are people's livelihoods and it's affected seriously. But, you know, the government has been talking about lots of palliatives across board. Is there any sort of palliative you think that can help, you know, your industry right now and also will reflect like positively on the demand for your services?
Yeah, what we expect and we want the government to do as we speak right away is to ensure that the Ministry and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency pays marketers, transporters their outstanding bridging allowance. 1. 2, government should immediately remove the 7.5% VAT on diesel because they just put VAT on diesel, and that 7.5% VAT has added about 40 to 50 naira on the pricing. Now, government can decide for whatever reason to tax people to meet its own commitment. However, if that tax is not translated or transferred to the consumer, is hanging somewhere to the person that is giving you service, then there are issues. Just like I said, the pump price of AGO probably at 950 could probably be come down to maybe 900 or at something. But now that you add it up to 950, and we cannot add it to our transportation. I mean, the marketers cannot add it to transportation because the PMS, as we speak, has a ceiling. Then there's a problem. So somebody somewhere has to take care of that. So what immediate solution for now, pending other clarification, is to ensure that that added weight of 7.5% BAT on the diesel should go, maybe temporarily or I don't know, pending the time we have some stability in the system. Because right now we are suffering, and gradually people will continue to park. Before you know, you'll not have anybody to give you the service. And we don't want to park. But whenever we park, every transporter that parks for a second loses money.
Yes.
Because we have other commitment. So many people have finances from other areas. So anything that affects us, we're not like unions and whatever, so go on strike or whatever. We're business people, we're investors. And we believe governments listen. So final as a palliative, we want the government to give us, to go and have a look again at that 7.5% BAT.
So
that's 1. 2, also to look at the outstanding payments with the Ministry and Downstream Agency. What it can do to reduce, to send the money outstanding to the marketers who will eventually pay the transporters.
Who are you engaging in federal government? Who are you talking to, and how far discussions been ongoing?
Well, we've just written to the Honorable Minister of Petroleum Resources. Of course, we don't want to bother him because he's just trying to settle in. And it's not an issue that will create any wahala, but it's just to alert him. This is the looming danger. We want him to come in and ensure that issues are resolved before they get worse.
Thank you so much.
Because in any case, we have adequate fuel across the country that is not being utilized. So it is not an immediate danger. But if I'm doing business and I don't have any gain, I'm not compelled to continue to do it. And nobody else will do it apart from me.
Okay.
For now.
Okay, so are there kind of conversations ongoing between your association and the NURTW? Because I am aware that you both are stakeholders in this, and it would help in driving home the conversation of your demands to the government.
NURTW is an association, a union of drivers. Yeah. I'm talking about Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency. So many marketers, transporters have outstanding payments lying with them for bridging that was done during the bridging regime. Now, 100 days after the full deregulation, these monies are still outstanding. They are paying some small, but does not reflect what is being owed.
Thank you so much, sir. I think I can let you go at this time, but it's good to just get your perspective, and I'm happy that you've started engaging government on this. This is going to affect a lot of Nigerians, especially the fact that they can't get fuel to the filling stations. But I hope that in the next few days, you're able to get this resolved. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Coming to you guys, I mean, I don't know, you tried to get fuel, right? There was delay. Which area was this?
Alongside going to Bega.
It's amazing how these things affect everybody. We forget that these are everybody's.
It's a chain.
Yes.
So if one part of that chain is not being serviced properly, it would affect us.
Everybody.
In the end, it's still the customer that will bear the brunt. Either we don't get the service, or when we get it, it's too expensive, you know, things like that.
Prices are not even the same. So you have it's 585, you have 590, you have 575.
The north is totally different.
Yes,
No,
totally.
always
Even in
been.
Ibadan.
Has always been.
Even
All
Ibadan is
through
really
Yes, very different.
Sunday, that was when I noticed the, scarcity. There were a lot of, because we went to the mainland on our way back, we were just thinking we'll just park and, fill up. And we started driving from one filling station to the other. Everything was locked. We were lucky to find one around Lekki that we now finally got fuel. But I hear that a lot of people are still not able to get fuel till now.
Pay them their money now. Why are we holding
We have to wrap up, but I must also take this opportunity to remember the young man, 27-year-old young man that recently died. He's an artist. That's the Mohbad. Many of you already know him. It was really, really painful that he passed away yesterday. Very young. He is a very popular artist, and his family has sent a message saying that they would like to get some privacy at this time. According to them, they said that, trying to read the exact quote from his family members on what they said that it is with great sadness that we confirm the passing of Promise Oladimeji Aloba, PKA Mohbad. Mohbad was in light until the very end, and as we mourn the loss of this brightness, he carried. The family thanks you for their love and prayers and asks that you continue to respect their privacy during this difficult time. The pictures of him, maybe he was ill at some point, he was going through some mental issues, but we are praying that the family are able to withhold this period. It's really, really painful for a young, promising guy, 27 career, to pass on at this such an early age. Our hearts go out to the family, and may his soul rest in peace.
Amen.
That's all we can take on today's show. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.